Welcome to the channel, Trader Jan speaking. This video is about the market's preparation, the morning market prep or market analysis for the 15th of April 2026. It is right now 6:43, that is Chicago time. We are in the middle of the European session. Asia session was kind of very rangy. Just about 400 ticks, and the European session the same, a little bit lower than the Asia session. But the market does what the market does. As usual in those videos, I have two topics. One is going through the market events, what is planned for today, any big announcements where we need to be careful with trading. And the second one is to find the locations where we expect the market to at least react in one way or the other. We can't predict the reaction, that's for sure. Nobody can. But at least knowing when we should look a bit closer to the market to identify certain probabilities or high probable entries. Now I'm going to the events first. Those are the events for today. We have one 3-star. Today is Wednesday, so it's Crude Oil Inventories and Cushing Crude Oil Inventories. Something which looks like oil related, but actually it is often an indicator how good the market environment is currently working. So it all depends on how if the inventories are more or less than forecasted. But I wouldn't take the freedom to define if it goes higher or lower depending on what outcome it is. That's not my business and that's not my expertise. I leave that to the more smarter people than me. Then the import and export price index. Those are usually quite interesting too. For me, more interesting in terms of step off your keyboards, don't trade during that time. That's more my way of how I look at it. Now, let's see what comes in tomorrow. Tomorrow I have initial jobless claims and the manufacturing index. That's going to be quite interesting, 7:30 in the morning. And on Friday, then not much news on Friday, so it's going to be probably a little bit more of a range day on Friday, typical Friday. But today is Wednesday, so we want to check out what the locations are for the trading day today. And here I see, if I switch back to the chart, just when we are talking here, market did this kind of thing here, and then it from here just jumped up here like 200 ticks. And if you would have anticipated to go down, it could to go south here. That's one of those examples where it's great to have a stop loss because the market might just shoot up here or there, and then you are deep in the red and you get some psychological pressure. But that's not our concern now. Let's look at the locations. We had some locations defined yesterday. Feel free to review, to look at the other video where I was reviewing the locations. There was one thing I had there, and that was this location here. This could have been like a little bit lower here. Let me, just for the sake of interest, what would that have been here if I would have had, no, defined it in a different way here, like from here to here. Let me say, okay, just for the sake of comparing. So checking for that one in history, let's see where this location actually was coming from. And looking here, yeah, I put the location here because it was like the finish of that one here. But now I see something which I always suspected, that a location which is either like this one here, of location, an area of absolutely no interest. Let me just out of interest mark those ones here so I can see how it was handled yesterday. But here, yep, what I should have done here was I better should have just marked that area here, which was an area of absolute low interest. And those are usually the areas where the market goes, either gets rejected or just pauses. Let me check back if that would have been um, the better location moment. That was yesterday here. Here. That would have been indeed the better location to the dot here, where the market came up here and would have been rejected. And here, that other location, kind of, yeah. But you know, just having 80 ticks between locations doesn't really make sense either. So that's not too much to worry about. So having said that, what I usually do is I clear up those locations from in between, except those ones which were the daily extremes. So this one here, for sure, that is an extreme of the day from yesterday. I'm gonna leave that one for today as well. It's always it's an interesting area. Everybody's watching that one, not making it too big. And then sure, we have the extreme of today, which is a very low interest here. I more put it up here. Yep, a little bit bigger up to here. And then the low of today, which is, yep, let's keep that one. So this is the high from yesterday. I'll keep that one there. Now let's find the new locations of the day. This one here, the low of today, matches perfectly with the low here in between. Keeping that spirit, that could have been here. Even though I'm not extremely happy with that location because it's not support or resistance area. Besides the extremes of the day, I like areas which used to be support areas, and then they switched to resistance areas like this one here. It was resistance here, went through and then got support, and then the market went further up. So that is more my cup of tea. Let's check this one here. At least that is a support. In between we have 100 ticks is not a lot. But let me change that one here more to this. So do we have anything in between? What we could say though as well, you can just ignore that one. I changed my mind now, that often happens. This low area here, and once the market goes into that area, it's going to be a back and forth and a back and forth. And then we got that resistance area here. And what do we get out here? For sure, this area. And here, classic resistance, went through support, and then went further up. That is quite a big one. 300 ticks. Okay, acceptable. Now the challenge gonna be once that market breaks here, how long do we need to go back to find our next location, or is it all free market there? Oops, there was something, right? Ah, here we got something good. So let's see what we come up with. Definitely here a high, and that was the high from the day before as well. So we're gonna keep that one, and that is the daily high. Then we have something which, let's check if there are the daily highs here. That is for sure something. I'm gonna include this little low interest area here. And that is actually the absolute highest, 26,397. That's the absolute high of the market, but too many ticks in between here. That's a kind of a low volume area, so that's a daily high, daily high, daily high. That's a very big resistance area here. And it used to be resistance here as well. So at some point I need to make a decision, right? I'm gonna take that big volume here. Yep, I'm gonna take that one here. It's not a perfect science, that's why it's so difficult. And at some point you need to decide to do something. And what do we have in between? We have areas here which were support and then went through and it got resistance. I would rather take this area here. And when the market goes through it, it's a high volume area here anyway. So that is when the market goes through that. That's been a lot of support here, resistance here. So the market gonna come from the bottom. And it was the high of that day here. Which actually is yeah, okay, okay. So location is defined. If I look at the daily chart, It is a time for, if I look at the big jumps we did here, it's kind of time for consolidation. It's time for a short, but you never know. The next big move is just a tweet away. And if the market goes above that one, a new highs are only that far away. So if the market comes out of that range here, here's short, there's long, and the rest is just ranging in between, might well be just a ranging market. Today, as the market went from a higher, lower high, a little bit of a higher, but a lower low here as well. So looking at it, it is more, I anticipate more either ranging or short. Even though long-term price action or price action here, if you look at the different days, then it looks more, and the market could go endless, so there's no limit. So price from a multiple days perspective, it should be long. I'm kind of skeptical looking at the global market conditions, but yeah, we see when it comes. And as day trader and especially scalper, I'm not extremely interested in many in those long-term views. So we're at here, look at that one here, big, 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 big actions here. Those were, okay, 260 ticks. Yep, all within the range. No surprises. So that's for today. Thanks for watching and see you down at the trading floor.